All right, the title of the message is Joy is a Point of View. One statement out of, I think there's going to be like 3 or 4 statements that you need to learn and that you need to repeat more each day of your life if you can. You got to remember, joy is not the absence of sadness or the presence of amazingness. Joy is not the absence of sadness. I know there's a lot of views out there of exactly what is joy. And I will try to pinpoint at least my point of view in the way I interpret the Bible as to what joy is to be. If you'll turn to Hebrew chapter 12, we're going to look at verse 2. Hebrews 12, verse 2. Hebrews 12:2. Keep your eyes on Jesus, our leader and instructor. He was willing to die a shameful death on the cross because of the joy he knew would be his afterwards. And now he sits in the place of honor by the throne of God. Now, if you look at what Jesus went through on the cross, it's kind of hard to find joy. But in order to endure the cross and to endure the cross scorning and its shame, you find that Jesus did not find joy in the event. He only finds joy in the guaranteed outcome of that event. He didn't find joy in the feeling of himself hanging on the cross. It wasn't like just because he was the Son of God, he felt no pain. It wasn't like the law of pain just dropped its guard and left his body. He felt every bit of pain that you and I would have felt if we would have gone through the same ordeal. It was just as painful for him as it would have been for any of us. But because of the purpose, he was able to find joy. A lot of times when we look at our lives, we don't find much joy in our life because of what we're going through and the way we interpret it. But again, just like Jesus, he did not find joy in the event. He found joy of the guaranteed outcome of what the event was. It's very different to go through pain with a purpose than to go through pain without a purpose. If you go through pain and you don't have a purpose, it's very much painful. But it's kind of like a mother giving birth to her child. It's very painful. But the outcome of that pain is very joyful. And that's what we've got to realize as a Christian. We're going to go through painful stuff. We're going to go through those painful events. And we're going to endure them. But it's your attitude and the way you come out of it will determine if you have the joy. You know, it's kind of different, like if it's Olivia jumping on my back. You know, she weighs 75 pounds at the most, soaking wet. All right, but if I'm not expecting her to jump on my back, she'll jump on my back and it feels like every disc in my back has just been dislocated and I feel like I'm 80 years old. But if I take the 75 pounds and put it on a bar and I squat, it's considered just a warm-up exercise. same pound, and everything like that. But when it surprises you, it can be very painful. It can hurt you. It can make you focus on the event and not the outcome. But again, if I know Olivia is going to jump on my back and I'm prepared, my body's prepared, my mind's prepared, it can bring very much a lot of joy to me and Olivia. So remember that. When Jesus hung on the cross, he wasn't surprised by the shame, and he wasn't surprised by the suffering. He wasn't surprised by the pain, and he wasn't surprised by the jarring. He wasn't even surprised by the saliva that the guards did whenever they spit on him, and he wasn't surprised by the blood that flowed from his body. All of that did not come as a surprise. He knew that this event would be very painful. He knew that he was going to have to endure a lot of pain, a lot of shame. So amongst that, he somehow found joy in the event because he knew once this event was over, it was going to bring freedom. It was going to bring salvation. It was going to bring everything that we need. He knew it. So in that, he found joy. In that, we can find joy. Joy is a focus before it's a feeling. We seem to think if we're happy and we're joyful, that somehow it's a feeling. To me, it's a decision. It's kind of like love. You know what? People's done you wrong. Hey, let's just face it, your wife, your children, your kinfolks, your church members have done you wrong. But somehow, you've decided, you know what? I don't care. I love them and I will continue to love them. And joy is similar. While we're chasing feelings called joy, God has given us the ability to choose, not our feelings. Have you ever tried to choose joy from Pinterest or Facebook? I tried it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for me. Maybe you have some success, but I believe with all my heart you're not going to find it. I even felt guilty because I couldn't find joy, and it made me feel less joy. So now I'm a joyless pit of joylessness. I have no joy. But it's a difference between choice and consequences. Jesus knew what his consequence was. He was going to die. Shame, painful. People are going to spit on him. People are going to curse him. People are not going to realize right then and there what the sacrifice was for. Isn't it amazing that whenever we're going through something, Jesus was different on this one. But a lot of us, we don't see, you know what, I'm kind of glad that someone broke my heart. Because if I would have stuck with that person and I would have married that person, chances are I probably would have been miserable. So while I was going through that heartbreak and everything like that, it was not a time of enjoyment. I didn't enjoy it one bit. But when I finally found the person that God had intended for me, I didn't remember that event. I remember the new event. The consequences of that breakup brought joy to my life. Just like the example of the mother and the baby. Very painful, very uncomfortable. Kind of makes you wish that Adam and Eve didn't do what they did in the garden. And giving birth to a baby wouldn't be as painful, would it? But it is. But once you hold that baby and look at that baby. That's the joy. That is true joy that no one can take from you. Now, I often wonder, is joy a choice? Is it really a choice? Well, let's look at it this way. Now, I'm going to use two examples, but the first one I'm going to do is an income statement. So look at our church income statement. It has all of our income on one side, and it has all of our expenses on the other side. And at the very bottom, it gives you the balance, red or black, positive or negative. But James tells us in the Word of God, if you can learn to put some of the stuff in the income column that you thought was an expense, and some of the stuff in the blessing column that you thought was a burden, and if you can flip that flow, you can actually have more joy than you ever thought you could. So what you thought was a burden was actually a blessing. What you thought was taken away from the bottom line of the income statement was actually adding it to the income statement. It's like the blessing box. It's expensive to upkeep. It costs money. But if we look at it, that's all it will ever be. It's just an expense. Sure, we realize people take it and use it and enjoy it, but we got to quit looking at those things as if it was an expense, as if it was putting negative into the bottom line, making our income statement red instead of black. Quit looking at it as a burden and start looking at it as it's a blessing. Yes, it's a blessing to the person receiving it, all right, but it doesn't have to stop there. It could be a blessing to you in which you give. It's going to cost you something. Look what it cost Jesus. It cost him his life here on earth. But look at the bottom line. How much joy has it brought to him, and how much joy has it brought to us, knowing that, you know what, if we can accept that event and we can find joy in that event, the final event that we become a part of is so awesome. I know adults aren't supposed to use that word awesome, but let me just tell you, it's awesome. All right, so we have learned to quit looking at things on an income statement, in a blessing box, or any other endeavor that the church made as an expense, and it's costing us money. Because it's just going to do that if you look at it just like that. It's just going to cost you time and money. And then you start gauging it. Is it worth it? Are we getting a good return? Well, let me tell you, money-wise, we get absolutely no return. I'll just tell you. But a mature Christian, a wise Christian, will look at it as, you know what? I'm being blessed. They're being blessed. God's blessing me. I'm blessing them. It's just a vicious cycle of blessings. It's a vicious cycle of joy. I don't know. I never see John or Sis or any of us go out towards the blessing box with a frown on our face and, God, I mean, I can't believe this is costing us. I can't believe, why are we even doing this? Same people are going to get it, da 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 da. I have to say that if I looked out there and I saw you all going out there with a frown on your face and just an attitude of, why am I doing this? Why not just shut the system down? Why not just shut that completely down? We're not going to get anything. The church isn't going to benefit. You're certainly not going to benefit. So flip it. Flip the income statement. Instead of it being a negative, make it a positive. Let it bring joy to you, because that's what the intention is, to bring joy to this world. All right, I'll get off my soapbox on that one. Well, I can't. I just can't. I can't be looking all around and expecting to have joy. I can't judge my situation according to other people's calling and expect to have joy. I can't judge my gift and compare it to other people's talent and expect joy. And that's what a lot of us mess up. This is how Satan steals our joy, because we want to compare with other people. Yes, I wish I had the talent of singing. Yes, I wish I had the talent of playing the drums. But you know what? If I compare myself to that level, I will never feel accomplishment. I will never actually feel the joy. But if I can concentrate on the talent and the gift that God's given me, and not the event in which, if I'm the lead singer, everybody's going to be looking at me and watching me and listening to me. And if I just take the role that God's given me, playing rhythm guitar, I can add. I don't have to have the spotlight. Believe it or not, Sis doesn't want the spotlight. But what she wants to do is she wants to present an atmosphere and a setting where God has the spotlight. Because if she is the one that's getting all the glory and all the recognition and all the airtime, like I said a couple of weeks ago, that's her reward. But the bottom line is, we still have a job to do. What about God? Yes, she may have a level of success, but her reward will be just that. Whatever gratitude that y'all want to hand out, that will be her reward. But if she can just set aside all that selfishness and all that self-praising and let God be the one glorified, then she'll have joy. And I'm telling you, on those long, dark, cold, hot, winter, summer, whatever, lonely nights, I would rather have joy than to have your praise. I would rather have God on my side and having joy than having anything else. Just remember, don't judge your situation by other people's calling. And don't judge your gift and compare it to other people's gifts and talent. Here's a statement that you've got to learn. If you learn nothing else, learn these 5 words. Nothing destroys joy like comparison. If you want to ruin your joy, compare your life, compare your situation, compare the way you play, the way you preach, the way you talk. Compare it to someone else. Because what I've learned in my life, there's always someone better, more well-spoken, smarter, faster, stronger, fill in the blank. There's always going to be someone better than myself. But with my God, I'm just right. I don't have to focus on how am I going to get better and not disappoint. I can focus on getting better and getting a better relationship with God. Remember, nothing destroys joy like comparison. The life you've got, some of you would be so enjoyable if you didn't look around and compare it with others. And we look at, I know I'm not quite at the age, but I look forward to retiring. Not because I'm lazy, not because I don't want to work anymore, not because I don't enjoy the money, but I just can't wait to what God's plans are when I don't have to worry about a job or money. I don't have to worry about a rain out. I don't have to worry about 40 hours. I don't have to worry about overtime. I don't have to worry about... Well, you know what? I'm looking at retirement as my solution to find joy. All of that sounded great, and all of us would love to get to that point. But you got to find joy in what you're doing now. Because let me tell you, you have more years before retirement than you have after retirement. So I would rather be joyful for 65 years plus than just be happy and joyful from 65 to whenever my life ends. I can have it all, or I can have a third. I can have it all, or I can have a quarter. Whatever. Find joy, your joy, that God will give you in His presence than the joy that any job can give you. I went to my grandbaby's birthday party yesterday. A lot of kids had fun. They really enjoyed it. Got to swim, got lots of presents, got to play. But I'm hoping what my granddaughter gets out of that whole ordeal. And to be honest with you, she won't get it. She didn't get it yesterday. She won't get it today. She probably won't even get it 10 years from now. But one day, she's going to look and she's going to realize how important friends are. And how, if she would have enjoyed her friends, how that would have brought her much more joy than any gift she received. See, when we were going through that event, whenever she was going through that event, whenever you were going through a similar event, you couldn't see the joy except what was on surface. But 10, 20, 30 years from now, you still have that friend. You still call that friend. You still text that friend. And every time you do, there's something inside you, and it's joy. Because you're beyond someone else taking your joy from you. You can really face to face realize, man, I have it great. I have friends, I have loved ones, I have aunts and uncles, grandparents, parents, cousins. I don't know. Sometimes we just get lost in the event. I mean, how can you not get lost in a man that did nothing, did not harm anyone, being crowned with thorns, being spat upon, having nails penetrate his body, having an open wound, not being able to take a sip of water. There is nothing joyful in that. But my Bible, the way I interpret it, Jesus wasn't focusing on that. Jesus was focusing on, what is this event going to do for mankind? What is this event that's happening to me that the world can't see joy in this? But just think, if you can remember the day you got saved, you found real joy. And if it wasn't for that event, you wouldn't have that joy that you have. I know, 34 years ago, 33 years ago, my wife went through, you were there. I was there. I don't remember that much, okay? But I remember my son being born. And I like to say that was the most enjoyable event of my life, but it wasn't. And I'm not ashamed to say this, but I guess the first person that I led to the Lord was probably the most enjoyable moment of my life. I knew that my son would be loved. I knew how my son was going to be raised. I knew that he would be surrounded by people that loved him and cared for him. I have my family. I have the church and everything like that. But when you see someone that's lost, that has no future, that has no love in their life, and then all of a sudden, those chains, that burden, that lifelessness, the chains fall, the burdens go away, and joy comes. Blessing box, again, if it brings joy to you, by watching someone open that door, grab that food, walk home, get on a bicycle, get in their car, or if they're so hungry that they don't care, they'll rip it open and eat it right there. If that doesn't bring joy to you, then your wood's all wet. Famous words my sister says. That's what brings joy. It doesn't, the promotion at work, the bonus check, the overtime, that doesn't bring me happiness. Doesn't bring me joy. But God using me or using this church to bless people, to further His word, That brings real joy. And that's what helps me fall asleep at night. That's what helps me fall asleep when the preacher's preaching a great sermon. We're so blessed. We have so much talent in this church that you don't realize. There was a time, and y'all all know, I spoke of it last week, that the office lights didn't work. And the hall where we served the food and in the back was not working. And used to, before we had an electrician in the church, it was hit and miss. You know, we will open every plug. We will replace everything that we knew of. We may even get electrocuted and everything like that. We will fill it. But God has blessed us with someone with enough wisdom and smart to get in there and realize, hey, we're going to trace it. We're going to find what's causing this. Because there was something causing it. You may be able to fix the problem, all right, but it's kind of like a headache. I got a headache, I take an aspirin, it goes away. But what caused that headache? What caused the power not to exist in that area anymore? And as a Christian, we should ask that every day. All right, I'm going through trials. I'm going through a hard time. My finances aren't great. My marriage isn't great. My job isn't secure. This world has nothing to offer me, but I keep going to it, trying to see and try to grasp some kind of hope, some kind of joy. You have the power within you. Don't depend on other people to bring joy in your life. Look at what you're going through. Find it. And you may even have to look like Jesus did, 3 days ahead. I mean, you don't get more final than dead. All right? You're dead. But Jesus was looking forward to 3 more days. Change the world. So always give God 3 days. Because He can raise something from the dead and make it alive in your life. He can bring despair, heartaches, and everything that the enemy has, and He can bring it to life again. He can bring you that joy, that happiness, that fulfillment, and everything. Just give Him a chance. All right? Y'all stand.
The Keel.